Nobody expected this, as the Boston Bruins have just shocked everybody in their first game of the regular season, with many names throwing out some surprising stats, playing some very good games, as well as Marco Sturm coming out here and building this roster exactly how he wanted it. We're going to be breaking down what he said after the game, going over this game as well as multiple other players who have put this team in a completely different direction from last season. Before we do jump into it though, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you one favor, and that's, if you haven't already, be sure to hit the sub button. Join me here on the channel. We're covering everything Boston Bruins. I want to say I apologize for not uploading after the game yesterday, like I said I would. Wanted to see the Yankees lose, and of course, that was a very big thing heading into this postseason. Of course, they beat the Red Sox, for those who follow baseball. But we got it here now, going to daily videos once again, and coming out after every game. Gonna try and do that, but let's jump straight into this one, because obviously, heading into this game, there were not very high expectations for this Bruins team going up against the Washington Capitals, but this game ended up in a very good direction, and going into this right now, you see right now just the stats here. Of course, this game, big 3-1 win coming out here, saw some good stuff, and I'll say that right now, because we're going to dive deep into it, but as of this moment, as of right now, things have looked very, very good on the offensive side of things. I'll jump into why here, but as you take a look at it, even though the shots were 36-21 in favor of the Washington Capitals, this game had the physicality that we all expected to see from this Boston Bruins team. The faceoffs were 50-50. The Bruins did take quite a few penalties, and that was a major issue for this game as to why this team did end up here in this situation, why they did end up having a very big deficit in shots, even though the Bruins did play good and, quite a few assets and quite a few facets of this game. So going into this and taking a look at how the offense really structured, we saw that first line really shine. And this is what we all expect from this first line. Pastrnak, goal and 2 assists. Elias Lindholm, goal and an assist. Same with Morgan Geekie. This is a very good game. An assist from Nikita Zadorov as well on the defense, but that offensive line at the top of this game really showed what this team is made for. And you even see David Pastrnak there, 18 minutes time on ice. Not really as high as I would have expected. I would have said closer to 20 minutes for him, but this team really was willing to spread around kind of the ice time, and I feel like that goes to show with Sean Kuraly even getting 14 minutes time on ice. But having this as well, you got to consider the penalty kill and whatnot, even though we see quite a bit of time where on the shorthanded time, you see, Fraser Minton, 358, the most on the team actually, which is very good on his side of things, and something that is a very good sign to start off the season. Having him there on the penalty kill is very good, a very solid option, and I feel like that's been a proven one that he's only going to get better here in this game. But speaking of that penalty kill, 5 for 5, although you were taking quite a few penalties, they were locking it down. Not just him, but also Jeremy Swayman, who we're going to jump into here in a few moments. But you see down the list, Pastrnak, Sean Kuraly, Henry Occhiario, Charlie McAvoy, and Mark Kastelik, a few guys that you want on your penalty kill there going and taking those penalties. So with a few options, they had to move around some things on the penalty kill. It worked out very well, and obviously a very good sign for what we've been seeing so far. I know it's only one game, but going into the next couple of games, they want to tone down their penalties, but they know that they have a very good penalty kill, which is obviously a great sign going to start off this game here right now. But as I mentioned, going into this game, Jeremy Swayman was absolutely elite, and I feel like he needs the biggest shout out here in this game. There was a lot of questions going into this one, whether or not we were going to see the Jeremy Swayman of last season, and like I said, it's only been one season. It's only one game so far from this season compared to last year. But he had a goal save above expected rate of 3.29 per moneypuck.com. That is absolutely insane. There's no other way to go about that. You cannot sugarcoat this. Having that against a team like the Washington Capitals, who are known to have their goal scoring at an elite level, especially with Alexander Ovechkin on the power play, he was a big part of this win tonight. And there's no doubt you could not put this out anywhere else, because as you go with him, as you go with the shorthanded, staff, the penalty killing staff, they were the real winners here in this game. And of course, having that first line come out and do what they did, definitely setting the team apart here. But this is a good sign going forward, and I feel like Marco Sturm was very happy with what he did see here in this game. And, jumping into the game, of course, the 3-1 win, Swayman 34 saves, Pastrnak a goal and 2 assists, Lindholm the game-winning goal and an assist, and Geekie and a goal and assist. Bruins go 1 for 2 on the power play and 5 for 5 on the penalty kill. Marco Sturm's first win. I feel like Scott McLaughlin covered every point that needed to be shown here. This was a very good game from the guys that we needed to see a good game out of to start. So I'm very happy with how this did come out. I feel like this lineup that we're holding right now here in this game is something that this team is going to want to stick with heading into the next couple, just to see how it goes. Of course, there are going to be some moving pieces here and now throughout the lineup, wherever they end up feeling like something may not be clicking. But even in this game, you erase those 5 penalty kills that they had to go through, this team may have seen a 5-1 win. They were very, very good here on this side, and having more offensive pressure in this game would have been, a whole different story behind how this game did end up. But I feel like this is what shows the Bruins are legit right now. And, as I've been mentioning, they're going to be a playoff team. I know it's very early after game 1, but they're on pace for 82 wins, ladies and gentlemen, and I don't want to sugarcoat that. But in all seriousness, no. Going into this game and seeing a team play like this against adversity, knowing that they were projected to lose a 5 penalty kills, 5 shorthanded opportunities, they played very well, and they really took this into their hands and thought that, this is our game to win. We're not losing this. And even with Marco Sturm building this out, he was doing very good so far on that front. And Marco Sturm did speak out about this game, of course, and he had nothing wrong to say. He said they played exactly how I wanted them to play, and that makes me happy. So this is definitely a good feeling for Marco Sturm, getting his first NHL win in his first NHL game, and having this team play the exact way that he wanted has to be a positive, because as you know, as a coach, you can only do so much. You can only tell them so much, but whether or not they can translate that onto the ice is the big question, and they managed to do that for Marco Sturm here in this game, and I feel like he very much enjoyed the way they played. And as I said in yesterday's video, going on about, and the last video as well, going into the mindset that he had, it does seem like it's going to be a very defense-heavy team, as we did see from that footage from practice, where he was emphasizing the point that if you're going to be in front of it, you got to be in front of it. And that's a big thing that we saw here in this game, especially on the penalty kill. Now, we haven't seen much from the penalty kill in practice just yet from him speaking out about it, or any footage from it just yet. But as we get further into the season, we're going to see a lot more in this. But it does seem like Marco Sturm has really taken that hold on that defensive side of things, and is going to be pushing that for this season. And whether or not you get some greasy 2-1 wins, 3-1 wins, it does seem like that's going to be the kind of Boston Bruins team we're going to be seeing here in this year. So obviously very good offense here from the top line once again, but very good defense from just about everybody here on this, even through the penalty kill as well. But we have one more update here, and this one's a bit of an interesting one going into next game, and what we're going to be seeing on that front as we saw a very different look from Hampus Lindholm here so far in this season. And Scott McLaughlin tweeted this out. Hampus Lindholm started 10 shifts in the defensive zone last night, just 1 in the O zone, the most defensive zone heavy usage on the team. And so that's something to monitor. He can handle that role, but he won't complain. But as I've said before, I'm not sure how you get the best out of him there. And this is a good question, because we know Hampus Lindholm is a very good offensive defenseman, and that's really what he's been known for throughout his career, but having him in the most defensive zone heavy usage on the team is definitely an interesting start. And because of this, having him as 10 shifts in the defensive zone while 1 in the offensive zone, you're limiting his offense, obviously, but you're pairing him also with Andrew Peeke, who at very many points on the ice is a very solid defenseman. He's very good on defense as well, but you think that if you wanted to garner more offense, you would change things. And now you would have a little bit too much offensive line pressure if you were to pair him with Charlie McAvoy, as we've seen in the past. And I think that Marco Sturm wants to separate those two so they have a good mix of both. But as of right now, it is an interesting side to take a look at, and I'm going to be curious to see how this does translate in tonight's game against the Chicago Blackhawks. So we're going to only have to wait and see about that. But ladies and gentlemen, that is all I have in this video. And of course, the lines are going to be released later today against this Blackhawks team as we get our home opener. And you won't want to miss that game. I'm going to try and get a video after. I'm going to do that as well. And if not, we're going to have one tomorrow morning, and as well as another one after that. But that's all I got here in this one. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. And let me know what you thought about the Bruins' first game here in the comments below, because I got to say, things have looked good. I'm very happy with how they did perform. And if we can keep this up, we are in a very good space. So let me know what you think here in the comments below. That's all I got. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.